New reaction on the White House's violent extremism summit, now wrapped in Washington. The president pushing for political and social and economic solutions to keep potential recruits from joining ISIS and other terror groups overseas. But while he says the U.S. stands steadfast in its fight against terrorism, he stresses one thing repeatedly. This is not a war with Islam.
Obviously, there is a complicated history between the Middle East, the West, and none of us, I think, should be immune from criticism in terms of specific policies. But the notion that the West is at war with Islam is an ugly lie.
Texas Congressman Mike McCaul is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. And, sir, good morning to you, and welcome back here to America's Newsroom. I've got a lot to go through. Part of the reason why the president says he will continue to insist the West is not at war with Islam is because he believes that jihadists use that as a recruiting tool. You've studied the issue. Is there logic there? Is that true?
Look, I think we are at war with radical Islamists. And I think it's important to define the enemy to defeat the enemy. And the problem is this false narrative that he continues to be so politically correct and not say what it is. If you ask ISIS if they're at war with us, they'll tell you they are. And they'll tell you they're doing it for religious reasons. Now, I think he's trying to be politically correct not to offend the Muslim world. However, you know, it's interesting to note at this conference, it was a bit of a psychotherapy session without any substance or any solutions that came out of it. And, you know, the FBI wasn't even invited to speak, and the military took a back seat. So I think, you know, I agree you have to look at it's a multifaceted solution, but the military is certainly a component of this. And all they talked about was how we have to have better education and economic assistance without dealing with these barbarians as they truly are, and that we need to defeat and destroy them.
Okay, get to the why then, as to why it happened. Apparently it was scheduled for October. It was postponed, then put back on the schedule after we saw the attacks in Paris. Why did the president, why did the administration insist on doing it? What were they expecting from this?
Well, I do think Paris was a catalyst for a lot of this, the idea that Paris could happen in the United States. I've been putting a lot of pressure on the administration through my committee and my oversight on foreign fighter investigations, and also the homegrown violent extremists that we see pop up like Mr. Tamerlan from the Boston bombing. All this, the threat environment is getting so high right now that I think they just couldn't avoid the issue anymore. They would love to see ISIS go away tomorrow, but the fact is ISIS is real, and ISIS is killing and beheading and lighting people on fire, and it's an issue that has to be dealt with by not just American leadership, which I think is paramount importance, but also the Arab nations need to stand up against this threat as well.
Yeah, I saw the statement you put out yesterday. You've written the White House several times about this issue. What have you heard back?
Nothing. You know, and the latest one, Bill, was the idea that we're going to bring in tens of thousands of Syrian refugees, and I've been over there to see them, bring them into the country in some federally sanctioned government program, which I think is a very dangerous idea. We had the FBI testify, National Counterterrorism Center, and Homeland Security all stating that this would put Americans at greater risk. And at the end of the day, as chairman of Homeland Security, it's my job to protect the American people, not put them at greater risk. This is a dangerous policy that we want to stop.
Specifically on the Syrian refugees, the FBI doesn't like this idea, as you state, correct? Because they don't know who they are. And when you were in Jordan, the Jordanians told you that they do not know who they are either. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. The Jordanian Minister of Security basically said, I don't know who they are. I can't properly vet them. And the FBI, when they testified before my committee, said we just don't have the footprint on the ground, the intelligence on the ground in Syria to properly vet these individuals with databases that make any sense. And so if you don't have that intelligence, if you don't have the databases to vet them, how can you safely bring them into the United States? This could be a huge threat. We saw this actually in the Iraq War. We brought in refugees. Two of them turned out to be terrorists who killed Americans, and they were plotting to send Stinger missiles to al-Qaeda in Iraq, which is modern-day ISIS. So this doesn't have a good precedent to it. I think it's a dangerous policy that we need to stop.
Sir, thank you for your time.
Mike, thanks for having me.
Mike McCaul, we'll speak again, okay? Appreciate it. Out of Austin, Texas today. Thank you, sir.